17th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and his brother John and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. Suddenly there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him. Then Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will make 3 dwellings here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, suddenly a bright cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud a voice said, This is my Son, the beloved. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell to the ground and were overcome by fear. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, Get up and do not be afraid. And when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus himself alone. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus ordered them, Tell no one about the vision until after the Son of Man has been raised from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Grace to you, peace from God the Father, and Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen.
You may be seated. Well, those of you who know me who've been around here more than 10 minutes know I like a little bit of ambiance. I think ambiance is really fun, especially when we have like our night services. And why am I doing this? Hold on just a second. That's not the ambiance I'm talking about. Anyhow, we dim the lights, and sometimes, of course, we add candles, not just these candles, but other candles. And there's all different sorts of ways that we can add ambiance.
That mic is on.
No more ambiance. I don't cry. So, I think it's important that we acknowledge that sometimes we are intentionally trying to create a mood that's conducive to a good spiritual experience. There's nothing wrong with that. The church has done it for centuries. The church has used candles, we've used lighting, the church has used incense. We'll have some Incense Wednesday for Ash Wednesday. All kinds of ways to enhance our spiritual experience. And I think that's a good thing. But the one thing that we know for sure is, as cool as all that stuff is, we still cannot create or make, we can't make a God experience happen. That's not what it's about. All we're doing is trying to create an environment that is conducive to opening us up to the presence of God, to help us be aware that God is here. And I think that's important. And I think that there's something to that. However, when we look at today's text, the Transfiguration, it is about a lot more than just ambiance. In the same book, in the same chapter, just a couple paragraphs up, we have the Confession of St. Peter. We didn't read it last week because we did something else, but we have the Confession of St. Peter. Well, Jesus asked the disciples, Who do you say that I am? Does anybody remember what Peter said? You are the Son of God, right? In so many words. You are the Son of God, Son of the Anointed One. You're the Messiah. And then Jesus proceeded to tell him that he must suffer and die and all the horrible things that were going to happen. And that was part of what being a Messiah was all about. Well, Peter didn't like that. Of course, who would? Because do we want our heroes to suffer? Do we want our heroes to die? Do we want our heroes to be humiliated in front of hundreds and thousands of people? Is that how we envision our heroes, the people we look up to, is to suffer and die? Well, no. That's not what we want. I mean, nobody in their right mind would want that of anybody that they care about, much less your heroes in life. And so naturally, Peter rejected it. And of course, Jesus explained to him, well, you need to think again. So that was just, in the text, the way it reads, like just a couple of days before. And now here we are. And now Jesus is kind of giving Peter the glimpse of just the opposite. So here we have just the opposite. And this is a really powerful moment because now Peter does get to see Jesus in the glory that he imagined Jesus to be in, which is the bright glowing lights, with actually the voice. Who do you suppose the voice is? God. We heard God in his baptism say almost exactly these same words. But it's important what he says this time particularly because of the other two guys that show up. Moses. Does anybody remember the one thing that Moses is especially famous for? It starts with a 10. Yeah, he went up and down the mountain a bunch of different times, but one time he came down with a big ten, what I call the Big Ten in confirmation, the 10 Commandments, right? The first one is, you shall have how many gods? No other gods, right? One. So you shall have no other gods beside me. So he came down with the 10 Commandments. So Moses has always kind of been understood as the prophet of the law, or what came to be known as the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. And so Moses is there representing the law. The law was intended to bring life and civilization and good things to all of the people, not just to the Israelites, but to all the people. So there's Moses with the law. Then there's Elijah. Elijah was among the greatest prophets in Israel's history. That's how they've always read him to be. And in fact, Elijah is one of the few prophets that actually raised someone from the dead. Well, God did it, but it was by Elijah's word. And so Elijah saved the northern kingdom from outright heresy to Baal and the nature gods and all kinds of things. So Elijah represents all the prophets of Israel, all the great prophets of Israel. And so you have these two people. The interesting thing about both of them is that the Bible, and when you read their stories, neither one of them actually dies in the Bible. That's, I think, that was a freebie. You just get that one for free. Moses wasn't allowed to cross into the promised land for various reasons, and so he just wanders off, but it doesn't say he dies, but he just kind of wanders off. Elijah is literally swept up in a chariot of fire, and so they know that he just kind of swept up. So here you have these two guys who technically didn't die. We have the law and the prophets in Jesus, and now we have this voice, i.e. God, coming down, and the voice says, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased," and do what?
Listen to him.
Listen to him. That is a critical piece of information. Listen to him over and above the law and the prophets. So from this moment on, the law and the prophets were to be interpreted through the lens of Jesus Christ. Does that make sense? So from now on, when it says, whatever law you're reading, if it's in the Levitical Holiness Code or if it's in the Big Ten, whatever you're reading, and it may be combined with one of the prophecies, and the encouragement or whatever it is, it's all to be translated and interpreted through that lens. All of it. And if you can finally get that in your head, everything starts to make sense. I mean, even the Old Testament. So many people say, "Oh, the Old Testament is so bad." No, it's a beautiful story of God and God's people when you interpret it this way. You've got to read it through the cross, and it all starts to make sense. Even, like the story of remember the guy in the water? What's his name? He splits the water open. No, it's not Moses. Who said Moses? This is embarrassing. No, it's not John. The one who opens the water.
Moses.
Yeah, it was Moses. She would love to mess with you. Okay, so Moses is opening the water. A lot of people say, "Oh, you let them to the sea, they're all going to die." But God loved the people so much, and we know that because of this cross, that God made a way even through an impossible pathway through the sea, the Red Sea, right? God opened it up and let the people of God pass through. What seemed to be impossible, what is impossible, was no longer impossible because of that kind of love. Okay, does that make a lot more sense? I mean, it wasn't just an escape route. It's because God loved the people so much that God wanted to create a holy path for them. That's what the 10 Commandments were all about. A lot of people get hung up on the thou shalt nots, and really but rather than looking at thou shalt have no other gods the way Luther and the Catechism looks at it, but because what you shall have is life. Because if you have all these other gods like money, wealth, people, whatever it is, you're going to get so wrapped up in all of that you're going to forget to live your life. And God wanted life for all people. And that's what they're all about. And if we interpret it if we interpret it this way, it just makes so much more sense. All of life. Not just the scriptures, not just the law, and not just the prophets. But even death Because some of us, we've all had, everyone in this room, we've all had experience with death, one way or the other. And death seems so final, and death seems like the last word. But when we interpret death this way, and we're promised that we're going to live again and be raised with Jesus on the last day, that gives it a whole different meaning. That opens death up to a whole new realm of possibilities. And yes, we'll see them again. And when we die, it's as if it is in the twinkling of an eye. It's like our next waking moment is in the presence of God and all the saints, when we interpret it this way. And so Transfiguration, it seems to me, is a big Sunday because it gives us a whole different way of looking at God as we lean now into Lent and into Ash Wednesday. And as we lean into what all those Sundays mean as we work our way toward this cross, what it means as we work toward that place together. And not just the cross, but the Sunday thereafter that we all know as Easter. Amen. And the peace which passes all human understanding, keep all your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.